Full spacecraft separation.
Cygnus capture complete.
Welcome to ISS, Cygnus.
You're looking at a live view of Falcon 9, standing ready on the pad at Space Launch Complex 40, just minutes away from liftoff at 7:41 a.m. Eastern Time from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Thanks for joining us for NASA's Northrop Grumman Commercial Resupply Mission, NG-24, to the International Space Station. I'm Ronnie Foreman, Director of the Rideshare Program here at SpaceX. Today's mission marks SpaceX's second launch to the International Space Station this year, following the launch and docking of NASA's Crew 12 mission in February. In fact, the Dragon spacecraft supporting Crew 12 is still currently docked with the space station. Since 2012, SpaceX has delivered critical supplies and science experiments that help the crew conduct important research in orbit. This includes Dragon missions to the space station as part of NASA's Commercial Resupply Services Program, Commercial Crew Program, and private astronaut Axiom missions. Today, we're launching the Northrop Grumman Cygnus spacecraft, the larger XL version, carrying approximately 11,000 pounds of cargo, food, equipment, and scientific investigations. This will be the fourth Cygnus spacecraft that SpaceX has launched for Northrop Grumman, after NASA's Northrop Grumman Commercial Resupply Mission NG-23 in September of last year. At just under T-minus 9.5 minutes, the vehicle is currently on track for an on-time liftoff. Weather is green, but today's mission does have an instantaneous launch window because of the precise timing required for Falcon 9 to launch Cygnus into an orbit that lines up with the International Space Station. That means that if a hold is called at any point from here on, we would scrub for today and target our backup opportunity when Earth's rotation brings the launch site back into alignment with the space station's orbit. That next launch opportunity is tomorrow at 7:18 a.m. Eastern Time. For more on how the station crew is preparing for this delivery, I'll turn it over to Sandra at NASA's Johnson Space Center. NASA, of course, welcomed the Artemis II crew as they splashed down safely in the Pacific Ocean off the west coast of California yesterday afternoon. Hey, Sandra, good morning. How is our Artemis II crew doing?
Hey, Ronnie, good morning, and welcome to the International Space Station Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. Yesterday was indeed an exciting day filled with moon joy as we saw the Artemis II crew inside their Integrity spacecraft splash down off the coast of San Diego. The crew is doing well and are in excellent shape, in good spirits following their historic mission around the moon. NASA teams are already supporting them through their post-flight medical checks and recovery, and they're expected back in Houston later today. It's been an incredible and historic time in human spaceflight, and it's not slowing down anytime soon. Today's cargo resupply mission will be delivering food, fuel, and supplies to the International Space Station, which, as you know, has been continuously occupied for over 25 years. There's currently 7 human beings living and working aboard the International Space Station as part of Expedition 74. And as we said today, the focus is on the new Cygnus XL cargo spacecraft, now making its second flight to the orbiting lab. This larger cargo spacecraft means more room for critical supplies and experiments in a single mission, which helps keep the crew well stocked and ready to complete science research. In fact, the Cygnus XL is carrying over 11,000 pounds of cargo today, launching to the International Space Station. This Cygnus spacecraft, named the SS Stephen R. Nagel, in honor of the former NASA astronaut who flew 4 space shuttle missions and logged more than 720 hours in space. So things are looking good here in the International Space Station Flight Control Room. We do have a go for launch. I'll toss it back over to Hawthorne for the next steps.
Thanks, Sandra. The Falcon 9 rocket supporting today's mission is a 2-stage rocket designed for the reliable and safe transportation of satellites, cargo, and people. The Falcon 9 on your screen is flying for the 7th time today. Starting from the very top, we have the payload fairing. The fairing is a protective shell that shields the payload from aerodynamic heating until the vehicle is outside of the Earth's atmosphere. Today, that payload, of course, is the Cygnus spacecraft. Once in space, the two fairing halves separate and fall back to Earth, where they will be recovered by our recovery vessel to be refurbished and reused on future flights. One half of the fairing is brand new today, flying for the first time, but the other one has been to space before, flying for its 5th time. Our recovery teams are currently stationed in the Atlantic Ocean and are ready to pull these halves from the ocean after they return back to Earth. Just below that payload fairing, we do have Stage 2, which contains a single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine. Beneath that is the black carbon fiber inner stage that you can see on your screen, and the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle are our booster, or Stage 1. That will be loaded with about 1 million pounds of liquid oxygen and RP1, which is rocket-grade kerosene. The first stage supporting today's mission, as I mentioned before, is making its 7th flight today, having previously supported AX-4, Crew 11, Northrop Grumman's previous resupply mission NG-23, and 3 Starlink missions. The first stage, as I mentioned earlier, also makes up that bottom 2/3 of the vehicle, and at the very bottom of those, we have 9 Merlin M1D engines, which will generate more than 1.7 million pounds of thrust at liftoff.
Are pressing for the start of Stromback
About
retract.
2.5 minutes into flight, the first stage will separate and make its way back to Earth. Today, the booster is headed to landing zone 40, which we've got live views of on your screen, also at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. With just about 4 minutes and 39 seconds to go, everything is on track for launch. We'll continue to provide updates as we get closer to T0. For now, though, here's more from Northrop Grumman. Right now, we are inside the final minutes of the countdown, and our team is reporting no significant issues so far. Just at the base of the payload fairing there, we're getting views of the clamp arms at the top of Stage 2 having fully opened up. That means that at this point, Falcon 9 is standing free up at the top. There's another view there with the sun rising off the East Coast right behind our rocket. And that, of course, means that Falcon 9 is preparing to step into the final minutes of the countdown. We're coming up on the call out that we have finished loading both RP1 and liquid oxygen on the vehicle. We're expecting the first stage to finish loading around T-3 minutes and the second stage at T-2 minutes.
That's right, Ronnie, and we are standing by for that call out here, expecting that in about 8 seconds or so from now.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
And there you heard it. Stage 1 LOX load is complete. Checkouts of the second stage thrust vector control actuators will be underway at about T minutes.
Complete. Finalizing propellant loading for the booster. The tanks are also pressurized with chilled helium to help push propellant into the engines during flight as the tanks empty. At T-60 seconds, we'll be listening for the call out from Mission Control that Falcon 9 has entered startup mode. At that point, the rocket's onboard flight computers take over the countdown and become fully autonomous. Just before liftoff, at T-2 seconds, the 9 first stage engines will ignite. Once the engines reach full power and all systems are confirmed ready, Falcon 9 will be released and lift off the pad.
We are standing by for the confirmation that liquid oxygen for the second stage is fully loaded.
Stage 2
you are
LOX
seeing
load is complete.
And there you just heard that call out for Stage 2 LOX load complete. You are noticing some of the white vapor venting from the rocket. That is normal and expected this close to launch, as the extremely cold propellants cause condensation in the warm Florida air.
Right now, the payload remains healthy and the rocket is tracking no issues.
Ground
Weather
gas
is still
closeout.
green for our scheduled liftoff of 7:41 a.m. Eastern Time, just under a minute and a half from now.
And you can actually hear some of that gas closeout as it has begun. Cygnus is also completing its final health checks as it prepares to go on internal battery power. Those checks are being monitored by Northrop Grumman controllers in Dulles, Virginia.
Falcon 9 has entered startup.
LD, go for launch.
With those call-outs, we know that Falcon 9 is on internal power, and our launch director has given us the final go for launch. With that, let's listen in to the final 30 seconds of our countdown.
T-minus 15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff. Go Falcon, go NG-24.
And liftoff, science and supplies soaring to the International Space Station aboard the SS Stephen R. Nagel.
The chamber pressures are nominal.
Vehicles pitching downrange as all 9 Merlin engines continue to perform well. Getting good call-outs now 25 seconds into today's flight.
Right now, we're about to throttle down the engines to prepare for max Q, the point of maximum aerodynamic pressure during ascent. Max Q occurs when the combination of speed and air pressure put the greatest stress on the vehicle.
Vehicle is supersonic.
There's the call out that Falcon 9 is supersonic, or moving faster than the speed of sound.
Max Q.
And there's the confirmation for max Q. So coming up next are several major events in quick succession. Main engine cutoff, stage separation, first stage flip, second engine start, boost back burn start, and fairing separation. Main engine cutoff, or MECO, as you might heard it called by Mission Control, is when those 9 engines on the first stage shut down. This is followed by stage separation, where the first and second stages are pushed apart. The first stage will then flip around using small thrusters on board so it can head back to Earth. A few seconds later, the second stage engine will ignite to continue pushing Cygnus to orbit. After that, the first stage will perform its boost back burn to steer itself back toward the landing site. Shortly after, the 2 fairing halves will separate and fall away, exposing Cygnus to space. We should begin hearing the first of those callouts here in just about 5 seconds.
Main engine cutoff.
There's main engine cutoff.
Separation confirmed.
Great views of stage step on your screen there.
MVAC startup.
And confirmation of MVAC ignition. We are still standing by for the call out of boost back burn. And of course, that boost back burn is what helps us steer our booster back to landing zone 40 for landing today. Right on schedule, there's confirmation of boost back start.
Bearing separation confirmed.
And there's that great view of fairing separation. So coming up shortly, we should hear the call out for completion of the boost back burn on board our first stage. Again, the first stage will be performing this burn for the 7th time today on its way back to landing zone 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station.
Stage 1 boost back shutdown.
There's confirmation of boost back shutdown, and we're getting great views of those grid fins deploying alongside our booster on the left-hand side of your screen. The grid fins are the primary mechanical tool that we use to steer the booster during the upcoming phases of flight. If you are just joining us, you're watching live coverage of Northrop Grumman's commercial resupply mission NG-24 to the space station. We had an on-time liftoff at 7:41 a.m. Eastern Time from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. In order to make its way back to land today, the Falcon 9 first stage has 2 more burns to execute. We're standing by for the call-up for the entry burn, where 3 of the Merlin engines will reignite. This helps to slow the stage down as it re-enters the upper part of the Earth's atmosphere. Following that entry burn, the booster will go through its landing burn. This is a single engine burn that brings the vehicle's speed down rapidly in order to touch back down on Earth. And of course, on the right-hand side of your screen, we continue to have great views of the MVAC engine on board Stage 2 up in space. We still have a couple of minutes to go before the entry burn, but you can see the telemetry for both the first and second stage in the bottom corners of your screen. Right now, the second stage is continuing to accelerate and increase in altitude to carry that Cygnus toward orbit. We are standing by for that entry burn call out in about 30 seconds.
Stage 1 entry burn startup. Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
Great views of that entry burn on your screen right now, and the booster on its way back to Earth. And confirmation of entry burn shutdown. Coming up in the next 30 seconds, we'll have the start of the landing burn for the first stage. The landing burn is the final burn of the Falcon 9 booster today, used to reduce the remaining speed of the vehicle for a gentle and precise landing.
Stage 1.
We should be hearing that call out for first stage landing burn in
Stage
just
1
a few
transonic.
seconds.
Stage 1 landing burn. Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And that makes another successful landing of our Falcon 9 rocket.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
And continued callouts from Mission Control that everything
FAS is saved.
on board Stage 2 is also proceeding as planned. Now, coming up at around the 8.5-minute mark, we should hear a call out for Second Engine Cutoff 1, or SECO 1, which is when the MVAC engine that we've been seeing periodically on the screen will shut down. That will conclude the roughly 6-minute burn by this engine that was needed to get Cygnus into the proper orbit for eventually intercepting the International Space Station.
MVAC shutdown.
Right on schedule, there's our call out for SECO 1. Now we are standing by for confirmation of our nominal orbital.
And we have a nominal orbit insertion.
Perfectly on time. That's a good orbit. So with that, I'll toss it to Sandra until we confirm payload deploy.
Thanks, Ronnie. We are now approaching the 9-minute mark into today's flight. The second stage has one last major task, commanding separation of the Cygnus XL spacecraft just a few minutes from now. Now, if you are just joining us, you're watching live coverage of Northrop Grumman's commercial resupply mission, NG-24, to the International Space Station, with over 11,000 pounds of food, fuel, and supplies for the crew aboard the International Space Station. Cygnus will be joining the Crew 12 Dragon spacecraft, which docked with the space station in February of this year. Both Northrop Grumman and SpaceX have a long history of supporting the International Space Station. SpaceX began flying cargo missions in 2012, and Cygnus has been visiting since 2013. To date, Cygnus spacecraft have delivered more than 158,000 pounds of cargo, equipment, and science experiments to the space station. This mission is the second flight of the larger Cygnus XL spacecraft, which can carry over 11,000 pounds of cargo. This is roughly 33% more than previous versions of Cygnus. Today's flight will deliver critical supplies as well as scientific investigations in biology, physical sciences, Earth observation, and technology development. And these missions help keep the station operating as a world-class laboratory in space. So we are standing by for payload deploy. We're continuing to get these views of the second stage here. As we mentioned, onboard Cygnus is over 11,000 pounds of science and supplies, but in addition to that is a variety of food items for the crew onboard the International Space Station, including some fresh food, which is particularly exciting for the crew aboard the space station whenever they get fresh food. Some of this on Cygnus includes onion, garlic, hummus, apples, blueberries, oranges, baby carrots, bell peppers, and radishes, in addition to an assortment of coffee, tea, nutrition bars, coffee beans in dark chocolate, jelly, olives, salsa, candies, and beef jerkies, as well as the standard menu bobs. The crew will be expecting to receive this food on Monday. Capture of the Cygnus spacecraft is scheduled for 11:50 a.m. Central Time on Monday, 12:50 p.m. Pacific. We are now 12 minutes and 35 seconds into the flight of NG-24 today. We are standing by for the call out of payload deploy. That call out is expected at about the 14-minute 40-second mark. In addition to hardware and supplies and food for the crew on board space station, there is a exercise device, the European Enhanced Exploration Exercise Device, which is a compact exercise system to help preserve muscle mass and bone health in microgravity. This device combines cycling, rowing, and resistance training, in addition to the ability to perform rope pulling and climbing movements even when unpowered. And this device was jointly developed by NASA and the European Space Agency. We are standing by for payload deploy. That is expected in about 20 seconds from now. So let's listen in and enjoy these views while we await that call out.
Payload separation confirmed.
There's confirmation from Mission Control, and of course we have that beautiful view on your screen. The Cygnus XL spacecraft is now on its way to the International Space Station. As mentioned before, it was expected to arrive about 53 hours from now. That's going to do it for me here in Hawthorne. Be sure to check out spacex.com/launches for a schedule of our upcoming missions. Sandra, what's next for Cygnus on the NASA side?
Thanks, Ronnie, and welcome back over here into the International Space Station Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. Next up will be the deployment of Cygnus's solar arrays, scheduled to begin about an hour and a half after launch, and that process should take about 30 minutes to be completed. Now, once those arrays are deployed, we will provide an update on the International Space Station blog with the latest news. But with that, that will wrap up our coverage of Northrop Grumman's 24th commercial resupply service mission to the International Space Station. Cygnus now on course to be captured at about 11:50 a.m. Central, 12:50 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday. Live coverage of rendezvous and capture will begin at 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern, followed by a blog update on installation posted to the International Space Station blog. You can learn even more about this mission on the web at nasa.gov/commercial resupply. But for now, that will do it for us here.